Welcome back to I Would Like to Have a Conversation. I'm back here with Todd with episode 38. How are you going, dude?
Great. Everything's going great. How are you?
Yeah, good. We had like our hottest, well, not hottest, we had a very hot day yesterday. And the kids are home, so we got out and did everything before 11 o'clock. So we took the dog for a walk, come back, had a water pistol fight, went to the shops, got this big donut place where they have loaded donuts. We got a donut. Then we come home and just stayed inside for the rest of the day. You guys would be freezing then, yeah?
Yeah, it's like between 20 and 40 degrees, depending on.
So it's like, yeah, that's like zero. Or
yeah,
around zero.
Right, yeah, give or take, yeah.
So today we were talking yesterday, and we wanted to sort of chat about identity shifts and how, in the case of like when you make a transformation, you need to adopt the identity of the person you want to become to be able to keep it. Let's say that. Because a lot of people can have a transformation. I think of like those F45 challenges or beach body challenges back in the day. I'm pretty sure they're still a thing. But when people make these huge transformations, they just don't stick because they haven't adopted the traits, the personality, the values of that person they just transformed into. Which is like, it does come back to that whole thing of we keep talking about, which is like from the book Bunters. Don't jump in a race you don't want to be at the end. But yeah, I'll go first and sort of share like one of the big things for me when I became a dad is like I was like bullish on the idea because I was coaching parents for so long and they would use kids as an excuse. I'm like, it's hard to train. I've got kids. It's hard to eat paleo because I was a paleo nut job back then. It's hard to do paleo because I got kids. And I was like, just throw the stuff out. The kids need to eat healthy as well. I was always that kind of coach. And when I became a dad, I think I had it in my head that I needed to be that person to prove that it could work. And it took me on lots of trials and errors and like lots of failing and burning out, trying to fit like 2-hour workouts in with a kid that never slept more than 2 to 4 hours. And just kept cooking myself. I was a stay-at-home dad too. So like I had to look after the baby. I couldn't really leave him upstairs while I went downstairs to train. So everything had to change and I had to make a big identity shift for myself where I was like, I'm a dad first. And then I used my training to facilitate that, not the other way around, which took a while for me to come to terms with. But once I made that change and changed everything around what I needed to do for that, results were more like kind of effortless, not easy to a degree, but everything just sort of started flowing. That's my big thing. There's like other identity shifts I've had to make multiple times over and we can talk about it, but I want to talk about your big shift from when you lost your weight.
Yeah. And now that you talk about this, mine, I feel goes back even further. I had my identity was wrapped around being an athlete. And I, as a Division III basketball player, I heard people speak of like that last game that they know that they're ever going to play. That's going to be a competitive game. It's going to be with your team. And I didn't realize how hard it was going to hit me. And I believe for a while I was lost. And I didn't have all these, I didn't have this skill set. I didn't have this awareness around identity, but when you're done with it, I was trying to hold on to it as much as I could. But I really, to a degree, lost it and lost myself for a very long time. I was still working out here and there. I was kind of paying attention to, what I was eating, but then I became a business owner. And that's one identity I still have an opportunity to step into on a deeper level. But that's something I resisted for a very long time. And then when Stacy was pregnant, right around that time was when I was going through, things that I've mentioned before, but my depression and stuff. And I had packed on an additional 40 to 50 pounds, depending on where I sit now. Right. So I'd gotten up to 260 pounds. And at that time, my identity was around being a craft beer guy. We were going to breweries a lot, spending weekends taking down high percentage beers and thinking it was like this cool thing. And and don't get me wrong, I enjoyed my time. Like we had a
Mm.
great time, Stacy and I. It's something we enjoyed at the time, right? But ultimately it took over. That identity took over, and that's what I feel led to a lot of the weight gain, a lot of the depression, and things like that. And so, in this combination of being a business owner and about to become a dad, stepping into being a dad, my biggest change came when, and I've shared the story, but that moment with my son when he was about 6 months old. But ultimately, what helped was, y- you know, the book by Carol Dweck, Mindset, and understanding what growth versus fixed mindset meant, but realizing that I did need to, and it was a lot of these like little micro identities as well. Like, um, the I remember having this conversation with myself where I was the snacker. I was
Yeah.
like, I was in picking on things and doing all that, and I literally had that conversation with myself. I'm like, who am I right now? Am I the person that's going to constantly go and be the snacker, or am I the person who's going to be in charge of their nutrition and in control of their nutrition? And so, and now that I even talk about it, I'll go back even further. Growing up,
Mhm.
I must have had a really high metabolism, which I think a lot of us do. I was always exercising, working out, playing basketball, playing some kind of sport, but I could eat a massive amount of food. And I was like the garbage plate I was the garbage disposal for the family. So I'd be eating
Yeah.
everybody else's food off their
That's
plate,
funny. Yeah.
and that identity in and of itself was really difficult for me because I don't like wasting food. Well, I didn't like wasting food. Now
Yeah.
I've been able to shift my mind around what I consider waste. So all that to say that, yeah, there was just a lot of like little micro identity shifts that I don't think we realize are going on, and it can probably go back to all these behaviors and things that are established at an early age. But there was a lot of micro shifts that led me to not only keep dropping the weight, but keeping it off. And now, just to catch everybody up, the biggest identity, if you will, that I'm shifting is around who I want to be as a father and as a partner. And because I didn't have a great roadmap, if you will, or like I said, I always preface this with I love my father and they did the best they could, but I didn't have that like ideal role model, if you will, of who of the level that I want to be at
Yeah.
of a father and husband. So that's what I'm stepping into now. That's what I'm able to write my own book and write my own identity about. And it's scary, but really powerful at the same time. So that's where I'm at.
It's
I don't
pretty
know
cool.
if
There's
that,
so many things you mentioned, like the garbage disposal thing. Run to like I still go to parties now, and my friends still like when they overcook, they're like, "All right, it's okay, growlers here." They call me growler because it's a nickname I've had for years. Um, growlers here, he'll finish it. It still happens now. Family things all the time. And in my head, I'm like, no, but I still do it. But I've just had to I just do it through a way where I know it's going to happen. So I just allow it to happen and move other things around the rest of the day to make it fit. But yeah, it's kind of where people have tried when I've talked to people about health and fitness transformations or they want to lose weight or whatever, and they never made a stick. Like I've tried so many things, diets just don't work for me, or calorie tracking doesn't work for me, and going to the gym doesn't work for me. It's all this kind of stuff. It's because you're still holding on to, well, you're full. Your life and your mind, or whatever we want to call it, is full with all these actions, values, insights, all this kind of stuff that serves your life right now. Whether you like what your life is right now or not, those things you believe and tell yourself and has filled your life up, the values and all that kind of stuff, is serving you right now. When you want to make a change, something has to, we've talked about this before, something has to be, we call it killed off, but you just have to make space for the new stuff. and allow that stuff to fit in, which is that whole adopting the new identities. And it's like in stages. You don't want to go from like pizza eating, Coke drinking gamer to 100-kilometer ultra runner in like 12 weeks. It happens. Like there's people that can do it, but it's super rare. And it's too big a jump for most people. That's why it never really happens. Because there's the amount of shit you have to throw away of your personality, of your traits, all that kind of stuff, of your identity to fit this new identity is huge. Like when you think about it, like that's the whole opposite direction. So I think when we talk about it and when people fall off the wagon, it's because they're trying to fit these new identities in without making space for it from what they're already doing. So there's things in your life that you do which won't serve this new identity. And that's when you adopt the new identity. Is like you go, the best way, the way I like to do it is you write down the things that this person does that you want to be. So who is this person you want to be? What does that person do every day? And I do this every day with all my one-on-one clients at the moment where we set daily intentions. It's like, what is your person doing today to move towards your goal? And we do it in 3 categories. We do it in the health category. So mine's built for adventure, whatever your health category is. Be the man, which is the relationship one. And then I now call it perfect, awesome life instead of perfect average day. Perfect, awesome life is the prosperity one. And we set daily intentions for each thing, which is us creating the identity of who we want to be, showing up every day for those 3 categories. And then we have to get those done. So it naturally, the idea of that is that it naturally makes space for it because you've set the intention of writing it down. So any other stuff that's got to fit in has got to fit in around that. That's the idea. And over time, it gradually starts making that part of your identity. Then you move on to new things and add new things in. But the counting of the wins of those intentions at the end of every day just tells the brain is like, I am this person. I am this person, which helps that adoption cycle. And it's so powerful. I was actually talking to BG about this yesterday, Brian Grasso. So anyone, Brian Grasso, he's got a book, Mindset Matters Most. Get it? Because it talks about this concept. He taught me this concept. He's actually, I joked with him yesterday. I keep talking about going to say on the podcast, Mindset Matters Most, but it's your saying. And I feel dirty saying that. He's like, you have permission to say it. So I'm allowed to say it now,
nice.
Which is cool. But we were talking about yesterday and said that all my clients had a 2-week break coming into Chrissy and we stopped doing daily intentions and stuff. And then I kept doing mine because I know when I drop off my daily intentions, how shit I feel. Because I start losing what my identity is. And I go back to the ingrained habits that I had for so long. So I kept it going, but the others dropped it. And when they come back, they like the idea that they dropped it, but the tone that I could feel from their messaging was all very mellow, very meh. Yes, it's Christmas time. It's stressful for parents anyway, but they just didn't feel really good. And then we started doing it again. And then already within a week, the calls I've been having with them, they've just been more upbeat. So it's such a simple tool. No, it's so simple that people probably won't do it, where it's like setting those intentions for who it is that you want to be every single day. It doesn't have to be a lot. Most of the time it's just 3 in each category for me. But and then you come back and count your wins. If you miss it, you put that as the number 1 priority for the next day.
Yeah.
And I think yeah, sorry, you go.
Well, no, one of the things I wanted to add too was it's not just about how you think about yourself, but it's the things that you're going to see in your environment as well. I mean, we had our beer stock, going back to the craft beer guy, like we had our beers, like our fridge stocked with some kind of craft beer, like quite often. And it's those decisions that you make to set yourself up, for success, because your environment plays a huge role too. So if it's going to be easy for you to fall back into those same habits and patterns that got you to where you are, but they're not going to serve you moving forward, then you also have an opportunity to look around and see how you can shift that environment to, I don't want to say make things, I'm not sure easier is the word.
No.
But I
I know what you
suppose,
mean, though.
but I suppose that's the best one I can think of right now, because if those things aren't there to either tempt you or make it easier for you to fall back into those habits and behaviors, then you have an opportunity to just look around your environment and shift that. Let's say, for example, maybe clients that are finding it hard to eat well at work because of the donuts and the things like that. Yes, if you're not the one bringing the donuts, sure, you can't make the decision for the office not to have them, but maybe you make a decision to not walk past that cubicle, or walk past the the kitchen where they are. There are these little, and I go back to these like micro identities and micro shifts and micro decisions. But that's ultimately what's happening too, is you're making a ton of, and it can be overwhelming, but you're making a number of these micro decisions to help yourself, because the new identity calls for those micro decisions, or they could be big decisions, but that new identity is requiring you to think differently. It's requiring you to make these different decisions to help you step into and continue to step into that identity, that new identity.
Yeah. I think the word you're probably looking for is like a frictionless way
Yes.
of making the change, where we know willpower has like a set amount. And I use it to the analogy of the traffic lights is like how much willpower you got that day to do anything. So when the biggest mistake I see people make is like, I'll swing back. So there's a video by Alex and Moy. It was a really good one. And it was talking about transformation. It gets really simple. Like, look at all the things that you don't like about your behaviors and write them down. And then there's like, what do you do about it? Do the complete inversion of what those things are. So he's like, to this, what is the things you don't like? What's the complete inversion of that? And a lot of times when that happens though, it'll be like, don't drink soda, don't eat the chocolate at work, don't do this, don't do that. As soon as you put don'ts in front of it, the first thing you're going to think of is like, oh, I'm going to have a soda. I'm going to have a chocolate. It's just constantly on your mind, and using willpower to push back against it will work for a while, but you're only like one red light away, which is the traffic light, like the most stressful day. We're just going to eat it anyway. I still do this now. Like if I'm a true red light, I will go get an ice cream. Always. Because we're emotional eaters. We want to feel good. So we'll eat foods that one of the easiest things to do. Yes, I know I should probably go meditate or breathe or play with the trees or something, but I still go that way. And it's just having tools in place that allow you to do those things where you know that you're going to fall off the way. If you go into the mindset of when you're creating these changes or these transformations in your life, adopting new identities, it's not smooth sailing, which we talk about as coaches all the time. It never really seems to stick. Everyone wants it to be smooth. It's not smooth. So if you go into it with the idea of like, yeah, I'm going to fuck up, but I need a tool that allows me to fuck up, but still move forward. And that's where that concept of the safety net come from when I started coaching online. So it was like, yeah, everyone's good when their life is good. When everyone's a green light, everyone can crush it. That's not hard. That's actually easy. There's not a badge. I actually don't think that's a badge of honor.
Right.
If life is awesome and you're crushing it, fucking cool. That's real. It is good. Do that. But I'm more interested in like when your life is shit, what are you going to do? What are your shit life behaviors, your red light behaviors? And that's the identity shift, I think.
One of the things I'll just compare to healing, like, so treating people in chronic pain. I think a lot of people want it to be very linear, right? They expect that every day, and we do to a degree expect that there's progress every day, but there's going to be flare-ups. There's going to be days that you overload it, and it's gonna be symptomatic. And that's the biggest thing that I'll share with them on that first report of findings visit is I'll say, hey, listen, we want it to be like this, but it's going to be more like this.
Yeah.
So we want the trend going that way. But there's going to be days where you're going to feel like you're starting over or you're at, square one. And I can promise you, you're not. But at the same time, I get it, and to carry on the analogy, we've been this way for so long, right?
Yeah.
And so to expect that everything is just going to be one step at a time, and just speaking to what you spoke to, there's going to be times where you're going to want that ice cream. There's going to be times that you're going to want whatever it is, insert. But still part of that micro decision is, okay, well, this new identity, what does that person do? Do they have 4 pieces of pizza or 2? You know, like, do they have a piece of pizza and a side salad? Those are all those steps and shifts that can be really profound, but because they don't maybe create massive immediate change or have the same dopamine hit, or you know, then like you had said earlier, it doesn't seem to stick. So
Yeah, I think it's like I'm hating on social media this week, but I think it's like the social media thing. It doesn't look that sexy when you say like 80% of the time I eat pretty much whole foods, and the other 20% of the time I eat ice cream and shit. And I train just enough to get what I want and do about 7 to 10,000 steps. It doesn't look that cool. It doesn't sound awesome. It's like, cool. But
yeah,
if you go full hog into whatever it is you're trying to do, like the massive transfer, but really, really strict diet. Like I've got a mate doing Spartan, he's doing carnivore at the moment. And I'm hoping that he's listening to me and starting to having some more carbs. Like he's lost weight, which everyone does on carnivore. Like I'm not saying that it doesn't work, but it's not a performance diet, technically. And I'm gonna the carnivore people going. There are 6 listeners. It might be 1. I'll reach out, but it doesn't. People want it to be a challenge. Like I think I've talked about it a few times before. Where do you want to place your challenge? Like where do you want the challenge to be in your life? You got a challenge over here, like for example, like us with Theo last year, and juggling his neurodiversity, going through assessments, trying to get all that stuff and the government support and all that kind of stuff. That was our challenge. And then me trying to get the online business going and transition to what it is that I want to do, which is more guidance coaching, space holding, that kind of stuff, and building side hustles with parents who want to have more time with their kids. That's what I like. So trying to figure that shit out, that was the challenge. So my training and nutrition and everything was not a highlight reel. It becomes like, I would, if I was sharing with anyone, it would be like, hi, yeah, there's nothing really special there. I'm like, no, I don't want a challenge there. I don't want it to be hard.
right.
So it's kind of like when you go on the transformation and you want to make a change to wherever it is you want to go, really look at it and say, do I want to make the challenge here? Or have I really already got like something challenging already going on? It's something really hard. Like for Kat, she's just transitioning into a new role where she's going to have 3 staff members under her. And right now she's gone back to the gym. She can't train her. Never been able to. So she's gone to sign up to a gym, started eating better again since come back from holidays, all this kind of stuff. And like keep sort of planting the seeds. Like, does this feel, if easy, it's good. So when you go back to work, you're going to be busy as, like, you won't know what hits you once you get 3 staff members under you. And we need to make it so easy for you to show up for this shit that it's more like stress relieving than stress building.
Right.
And I think that's the key when people can sort of look at their life and go, my life is really hard over here right now, but I still want to make a transformation. I still want to change. It's like, cool, you can. You build systems that make sense, that make it easy. So when you were saying like, for people who like work in an office, I was thinking about when I was at the council, every time it was a party, like it was a birthday, it was your job to put food on. So people put on cakes, and it was always like a full table of stuff. And it was always like super delicious stuff. And at that time, we were going through a lot of stressful stuff with Theo, like running away from school and things. So I just was like, I'm just going to eat it. Like, I'm not going to use any willpower. I'm using so much willpower elsewhere. And the willpower, like I'll be honest, the willpower I was using was trying to stop myself parenting like I was parented. Like getting really angry, getting really loud, getting really frustrated with Theo. It doesn't work. So I had to like use so much willpower to keep myself calm and use the training and everything to release that anger. And I wasn't going to use willpower to try and not eat that stuff. So I just used my safety net, which was always using the macro factor app, put in the macro factor app, eat it, move the rest of my food around for the rest of the day and move on. Just so I could keep showing up. There's not a failure point. Because it's really, I get really upset when I have like clients who have like something so stressful in their life. I just had a dad, he finished at the end of last year. He resigned from his work. He was setting up his own company and do contract work back to that same company, working like 10, 11, 12-hour days. Every time he caught up, he just felt bad. Like, I haven't been able to do any training. I haven't been able to do this. I haven't been able to do that. I've had to look after the kids. I've had to work. And I've been walking the dogs. And in my head, I'm like, they're all like 3 really awesome things. I'm like, that's all really cool. And you're still getting results because we've been able to figure out this thing. I think it played on him so much, he ended up leaving. Because he's like, I'm not showing up the way I should be showing up here. And I should have probably communicated that better. And I felt like I did, but it was probably a different way I should have said it. Or there's nothing I could have said.
Right.
Because it's just something that we have maybe from social media or whatever. When you make a transformation, it has to be like an insane thing. When he's having so much challenge over here, he wanted to make this challenge here, couldn't figure out how. So I just gave him a system that allowed him to get results where it felt like he was doing nothing while he was doing this really hard thing. And he didn't like it. Which does come back to the psychology of things where people generally keep stuff when it's been hard to achieve. Does that make sense? When people go through a bit of an ordeal to make a change. I remember reading it somewhere. They generally seem to make it like they enjoy that more and they love to share it and they will try and keep it much longer if it was a challenge to get. So it's like a bit of like an oxymoron. I was like,
right.
The really, really hard challenge means that there's more likely that they're going to cope because they went through something hard and they want to share that story and stuff. But it's also the same thing. The really, really hard challenge when there's something really, really hard already happening is the thing that's derailing them as well.
Right.
So it's like that fine balance, which is like having an honest conversation with yourself all the time. Like, where is my challenge at the moment? What's really, really hard? Do I have space for something really hard at the moment? Or do I have to like go back into cruise mode, but cruise mode still gets the results? I don't think, and people don't think cruise mode gets results. Like, that's
Right.
probably the big key.
Yeah. I think it always goes back to something that you say about when it's that simple. And I'm going to probably misquote it, but when it's that simple, we tend to brush it off.
Bias.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cause it's like, no, this should be harder. And it's like, no, it doesn't have to be. You know, one of the, here's one of my things, you know, when I got into the coaching space, they were all like, it's so much more than just eating less and moving more. And I get it, but I also think that that would solve about 80% of the problems that we had. So to throw that out the window, and it can be that simple. It just might take a little bit longer, but ultimately that's what most people are doing. Unless you're severely under eating and you have some other eating disorder that might be a problem. For the most part, it is pretty as simple as eating a little less and moving more and doing that for an extended period of time. And then where you should probably go in and hire a coach. I mean, hire a coach if you need the guidance through that, but where you should hire a coach is if you feel like you're doing that and you plateau, you know, or you feel stuck, then hire a coach to move on. And I might sound a little bitter, but I've gotten to that point where, you know, I've, you know, I if I bring on anybody, it's going to be because they really want it. And then they're okay with doing these things over and over and over again, you know, because that's one of the things I don't think I communicated well with certain people is that, listen, yes, this whole identity thing, it needs to shift. But at the same time, if you're not willing to do these very basic things, which is, eat, like you said, 80% of the time off this, I don't want to call it a meal plan, but, this meal guide that I give people that is really simple. Like if you can't do at least 2 meals out of the day, then something's going on, right? Because you're just going to fall back into those same patterns that weren't serving you or that got you to where you are. And that's not going to get us anywhere else. The other thing I wanted to say, this is going to be funny, but it makes me think of the scene where Ricky Bobby's dad is like, he comes back to the family and then they're out to eat and he just wants to screw it up because it's going so well. So he goes outside and he's like doing something in the middle of the street and they're like, why are you doing this? He's like, I don't know. He's like, I can't just like be happy and enjoy myself or something like that. That's what it makes me think about. It's like people are willing to give up on, like you said, like something so simple, because it may not be hard, but maybe because they just don't understand that it can be that simple. So,
yeah, I think Dan Co has like this graph, like an image, like a circle, has like all these dots in it, and it's like hundreds of dots, and like what you said, move more, eat less. I am bullish with that concept of like, yeah, that's what it is. They're like, oh, there's so many other things. I'm like, no, that's a next level down decision. The top decision is eat more. No, eat more, move less. Move more, eat less. That's the top. That's decision filter 1. And then you go into this circle and there's dots everywhere. The journey through the dots is like the different obstacles that come up for each individual person. And that's when it gets individualized.
Right.
But the high level concept is that. And I think that's the problem. Like, yes, there is other stuff that has to be said, but that is the concept. It is what it is. And then I think it's the cool part. That's the fun part, is like you go into this circle, you got to get through the other side. Let's say it's a maze. You got to get through the other side. The way you go through the maze is going to be different to everybody else. Because of your gluten stuff, because of your dairy stuff, because of your family stuff, because of whatever. It'll change all the time too. The dots will move and you'll have to change and adapt. And that's the cool part, because you're tooling up and making your way through in a way that makes sense. But yeah, the overcomplication of stuff that we need to do to make these changes and I was guilty of it. I love complicating things.
Yeah.
Like I love the tech. I love the technology. I love all this really deep work. And then I come back to it. I'm like, it really is just this. Just do this simple shit. I used to track HRV religiously. I don't do that anymore because it's like, all I got to do is rest more. Like it's stuff I already know. So when I think it takes someone to go and try the really complex shit and get results and lose it.
Right.
And that might happen a few times. And this is an analogy in business as well. But this might happen a few times where you start a business and you lose it. You start a business and you lose it. I can't remember what book it was, but it was like companies in Silicon Valley or somewhere. I can't remember where it was. It might have been Google. I don't know. But I will only talk to you after you've had 3 failed businesses. Because you've had to rebuild and come back 2 more times. You've learned all that stuff and you know what failure is like. You've got the knowledge and skill, rather than someone who's got the results and never had any battles, so to speak. The idea of like Kaizen, the Japanese term, where it's like constant iteration, constant trying, failing, and adjusting your plan. If you go into the mindset of whatever you're trying to do and this is what I like about Dan Co. You set a goal, shoot for it. When the obstacle comes up, that's what you got to learn. That's the tool you got to fix. And that's when you go find a coach to learn faster, or go do it yourself.
Right.
And you fix that problem. And cool. You got a new tool. You pass it on to other people, teach other people, tell other people, write a book, whatever. Then go to the next thing, next obstacle. And you just do that. Keep all these obstacles will come up, which is a good thing. And they just become problems that you need to solve, which fills up your toolbox. with more useful tools that you can pass on to other people. I think that's why when people go through a big transformation, they become coaches. Because like, I've just had to go through so much stuff and learn new things about me and new tools. I want to pass them on to other people. It's just natural.
Yeah.
Same with businesses. The natural life of a business person, I believe, most of the time is that they start a business, they get success, they want to teach. So that other people don't, they want to share the mistakes they made so other people don't do it. That's more what the sharing is. I think if you become, I was trying to get to the round into the idea of like, when you want to make a change, look at it through the idea of being a detective like Sherlock Holmes. You're going to come up against shit, and this is a good opportunity for you to go figure out how you would overcome it. Mm-hmm. What is your way of overcoming it? And yeah, you can go to a coach and get tools and systems and frameworks. And the other thing that which is what I like doing, is a coach is there to hold space for you and be a guide for you to figure it out. What is your way of figuring it out? And offering tools and insights and different ideas until there's one way, which could be like multiple tools used in a certain way that works and clicks for you. And you're like, oh, that was perfect. That was effortless. That was frictionless. It's like, that's the way. And then if you're doing something with a coach and it's taking so much friction and so much willpower, it works. It's taking so much effort to make it work. As soon as you dump that coach, it's gone.
Yeah.
Because you're going to stop doing it. Very much like, and this is where I think, and I'm not ratting off like in-person coaching, like going to a gym, PT and stuff, but you're just going and you're getting, here's the thing, do this. Here's my menu. You're following my menu. Yes, we changed it and stuff at in-person PT, but if the gym closed, which is what we saw in COVID, if the gym closed, everything stops.
Right.
The system is faulty. You haven't made the identity shift. You're just a person with this identity that goes to a gym.
Right.
So it's like one thing. You got to make an identity shift of like, I am this person. I train regardless of whether I go to a gym or not. I do this regardless of whether I do this or not. That's the identity shift that people need to make. It's like, what do you do regardless of what happens to you in your life?
Right.
And that's the stuff we start writing down. I think that is where huge changes happen. And I'm literally telling this to myself because I just got after chatting with BD yesterday, I'm like, this is what I want my ideal business to look like. And he goes, yeah, you've been saying this for over a year. It's like, I can go do it. He's like, so the biggest issue with me is I second guess myself. I second guess myself on every decision that I make. Like, if I make this decision, what's this other stuff that's going to happen? He's like, you need to stop doing that. Make this decision, make this choice, and just see what plays out. Nothing bad's going to happen. And that's another tool, fear setting. Is like, what's the worst that could happen if you make this decision or say if we're using like identities? What's the worst that could happen if you adopt this identity of who you want to be? What is the absolute worst?
Right.
Write it all down. So you know what the fears are. What are you going to lose?
Right.
Like, have you really lost them? How could you mitigate that loss? And it just reduces all those things that shadow self is trying to sabotage you with. It starts reducing the threat. As soon as the threat goes down, performance goes up and you'll be able to fly through it.
Yeah. And how to, I don't know if mourn is the loss, but how to work through that loss too. You know,
yeah.
I often think about my friend who struggled for years to drop smoking. And thinking about it now, I wish I would have prompted, asked this question of like, well, what do you've got to lose? Like, what is like the worst thing for you quitting? And, but I mean, he's on a better path now. But it's sometimes letting go of these little even the micro things. But even the big aspects of our identity is, and I've mentioned this before in the podcast, is, it feels like you're dying. Like, there's an aspect of you. And I know I'm bringing more of the spiritual aspect of it in, but, I think there's just so much resistance to that loss because it doesn't feel good. in that moment. And then, the one thing I'm always trying to explain to parents and business owners who want to do this is like, well, you never know how good you can feel. And
Mm.
and as uncomfortable as that may be because it's not familiar, it's a fun place to be ready for adventure. To be able to
Yeah.
just take off and go for a 5-mile run or whatever it is. And that doesn't have to be your thing or anybody's thing. Um, but yeah, there's an aspect to letting go that's also important, and being able to face that and sit with it. That's part of this identity uh practice, or I'm losing my train of thought here, but that's going to be the part of this activity, is understanding
Mhm.
that, like, yes, on paper, this is what you're going to lose. This is what you're going to gain. This is but go read that column of what you're going to lose very slowly. Take a deep breath after everything that you feel like you're going to lose. How does that sit with you? Like,
Mhm.
work through those things, because when you are moving through this new identity, you're going to be hit with them. And so you can either actually deal with it ahead of time and work through a lot of those emotions and things like that ahead of time, or in the middle of it, when you get hit with it, you're going to be like, oh wow, this doesn't feel good. And then you're going to resort back to, probably things that are going to give you that quick dopamine hit. And so that's one of the things that I didn't add to my story was I sat a lot with the things that I was losing. I've
Mhm.
sat with them, and I experienced the quote unquote death before, so that way there was a lot less friction.
Yeah. Like it doesn't
And
make it as big.
yeah, so when you're experiencing it, or if you're out and you're like, like with me quitting drinking, like, we go to restaurants, we go to bars, like, I thought about the moment of ordering, or not ordering, and not having a glass of wine with my wife out to dinner or something like that. Because in my head I thought, okay, we're doing something together. This is something we enjoy. And I thought about that very deeply beforehand. And so when the moment came, there was nothing. I was not
Mm.
tempted. I wasn't tempted at all, because I had worked through all of those feelings that come up when you're slapped in the face with those decisions. So
It's
something
kind
else
of,
I thought of.
yeah. And I think there's something you said, like the once you understand your shadow self, which is that down nature, free nature story stuff, the behaviors you want him to change because you want to adopt a new identity is your free nature. So that's the hero version of you. That's the stuff we want to do. So that's always exciting to talk about. That's fun. It's like, yeah, it's going to be sick. The bound nature stuff, there's stuff in there. Like, this is why I'm so big on it. When you write that story, that letter to your bound nature self, the behaviors you've had that got you to wherever you are a tool that your bound nature you is using to protect you. So once you understand that, it's not as hard to,
Mm,
you're just saying, I will need you, but I don't need you right now. You're not saying no. You're saying sit aside. So there's things like alcohol for me. Now my conversation with it is like, do I feel like having it? And like, I don't. Like, but I have the 0% beers. When before I didn't touch them, I was like, I can't because that's going to make me go back. Now it's more like I can have the 0% beers. It's fine. And I still get that nice, relaxing feeling with Kat when she has one. And all those kinds of things is like giving you back control. Because so much for me is like everyone, especially locally, everyone knows there's just so much willpower. I went from being a raging alcoholic to not being an alcoholic, to being able to train no matter what and doing really, really hard diets. Everyone thinks I've got this huge amount, like this insane amount of willpower and discipline. And now I just want to be like, that's just who I am. It doesn't take willpower or discipline anymore. And I can have it if I want it. I just do not.
yeah.
So you do 2 columns. So we'll leave it because I know you got to fly. So it's like the 2 columns, what are the behaviors you want to change? Or you do, what are the behaviors that you want? Whichever one makes more sense first. So your heroic version of you, what does that look like? What are all those behaviors like? What does that person do? And then what is the stuff you do that takes you away from that heroic version? Sometimes that's easier because some people were like, I don't know what I'm doing wrong. But as soon as they know that the stuff they want to do, they're like, oh, I know it's that.
Got it.
once you get those 2 columns, it's like, cool. There's your daily template for what you need to do to be the best version of you. Figure out the mini pro elite versions of that, which we've talked about in podcasts, a 5-minute version, a 10 to 20 version, and then like the best thing you could do for it. Like stuff that the 5-minute version is just to make it easy for you to win. So do that. And then the stuff that takes you away from it, what is it that what is it that those things do for you? Like put that into a list of few things. What does it give you that you might be able to find somewhere else so you don't feel like you're losing it? Or how can you mitigate that stuff so you do it, but it's not going to derail you? And that's the things I would probably do. Like you do those 2 lists and that will allow you to have, it's kind of the best of both worlds. You're not saying no and using so much willpower. It's kind of like you wanting to build this version of you, but you're not sure how to get rid of this stuff yet without completely blowing it up.
Right.
So you just make those gradual nudges and just move one thing at a time. I think that'll work really well.
I love it. That's great. It's I like what you said in there. You're not saying no. You're just having a deeper understanding of what got you to this point and what isn't going to serve you moving forward. But it doesn't mean you have to completely let it go.
Yeah.
I think that's really powerful because I think that's where people get tripped up. It's like, oh, I'm giving up ice cream forever. It's like, no, you're just giving up eating half the court or
you're sort of like saying like, nah, this says say, no, I can't touch that. People will say that, like, touch cream. I'll eat the whole tub. Like, just to say like, nah, not right now.
Yeah.
And you just figure out ways to do it, which is so many things we can talk about with that, like different things you can do. But yeah, that was a good one.
Yeah.
You know, it's good when we look at the clock, we're like, shit, we're almost out of time.
Yeah, this was good. It's great. So,
anything coming up for you in the future? Anything cool?
I got some things in the works behind the scenes I can share as I start to roll them out. No, just I'm really excited. I just recently went down to train some more for the adhesion release, and I'm just really excited to be able to serve people on a deeper level. So I've already noticed that my treatments and the response to treatments in the past day and a half have been exponential. And so being around like-minded people, I have started to develop and look at some potential different goals in the future as well. So lots of things that, the universe is shining some light on for me, and I need to make some decisions and step into it.
Nice.
I know it's very vague, but
no, it's good because I know it's sort of secret squirrel business at the moment.
Yeah.
I signed up for Spartan. Geez, the prices of that have jumped since COVID. So signed up for the trifecta. It was like nearly $600 for a race, which is bonkers. But anyway, so that's signed up for that. It's only like 5 weeks away. Still recovering my
hip.
Nah, hip's good. It's my Achilles. I jumped training I think I told you, I jumped training too quick towards the end of last year. I just felt good. I just kept going. And then the load got too much and I couldn't walk down the stairs. Achilles just got overloaded, so close to Achilles tendonitis. But just rehabbed it back. So cut it back and build it back up and just building the load again. So I'm up to 12K runs again, and it's 10 the next day. I'll do the rehab and it's fine. And we're just at that level. So I'm at, I think 40-something Ks a week at the moment. So I built it back up from where I went back to 10 and worked my way back up.
Let's go.
So yeah, looking forward to that. I know Strava is not super accurate, but last year I did the beast at the trifecta at the same time. I feel like that was at my fittest then. And I'm just below that this year. So I might be able to pass it and go again this year, even after the setbacks, the multiple injuries last year. So that'd be fun. Looking forward just to getting out on a race. Really. Yeah. Haven't raced since this time last year. So that's what my last week was. I was just planning out races for the whole year, doing a high rocks, do a decafit, an adventure race, and probably 2 Spartans and a tough mudder, and just have it laid out throughout the whole year and try and knock it over.
Let's go.
So that'd be cool.
So I will tell you one thing. I have a patient who is doing the one in Hawaii
Yeah, nice.
in 2026. So I was like, you know what? Maybe we go to Hawaii in 2026 to do this. So
do it. Like I've been looking at the Hawaii one because it's around the Jurassic Park filming site. They run literally around that area, and I was like, I want to go so bad. Like I'll die because of the humidity, but it'll be good.
we'll see.
All right, man. It was
Awesome.
good. See you, everybody.
Bye, everyone.